Palantir stock, PLTR. Why this guy just went all in on Palantir stock. We're going to react to this one in this video here today, folks, from Amit's channel. I believe this was from their Friday night live stream, and we're going to go ahead and get into this, hear what his points are around Palantir, why he's went all in the stock. And in regards to Palantir, by the way, this stock's kind of been in I would say, a longer term kind of, let's call it bottoming out process for good old PLTR here. If we go ahead and pull up Palantir, and just look at the stock over the past year, I mean, it's kind of been in this bottomish area for like a while now, $6 to $7 range now at this point in time. As far as going much lower, probably not super realistic. I think this 6 to 7 range is kind of like the bottom for Palantir, my personal opinion on that. You look at their balance sheet, $2 billion plus on the balance sheet, right? If we look at their business, they should be getting closer and closer to true net income on the bottom line as this year kind of ticks along. Obviously, good growth. Now, with that being said, before we dive into what this gentleman has to say, I've got to just caution folks around the going all in a stock, okay? This is extremely risky. I don't care if it's Palantir. I don't care how good the balance sheet is. And I just want to give you guys a few examples, okay, of other stocks that have had troubles and you never saw it getting this bad, right? A good example is 3M. 3M's usually known as one of the most stable companies in the world, right? One of the safest stocks you could ever buy is a company like 3M, okay? And so let's say you went all in the stock. Well, here's the deal. A while back, they bought this company, essentially, that sells earplugs, right? Earplugs, and to like military personnel and whatnot. Well, now this company's in these crazy lawsuits. 3M just spent $450 million on just legal costs for this earplug case. And there's estimates out there that the losses for 3M could be $100 billion. Now, it might not be. I'm sure they'll get out of it for cheaper than that. But it's likely it's going to be at least between $5 and $10 billion. But I mean, $100 billion, that's bigger than the entire market capitalization of 3M. It would literally bankrupt the company, right? Which is crazy to think from just this business they bought, that they would have this sort of liability. But this just goes to show you that when it comes to public companies, the craziest things can happen that you never foresaw. Let me speak about a situation I never foresaw, okay? Tattooed Chef, TTCF, right? A company that's fighting for its life in 2023. Fighting for its life, okay? This was a company that 2 years ago had $100 million plus sitting on the balance sheet. No debt. There was never going to be a question about could they survive. It was just a question of like, how big will the company be? What's the valuation at? What will the valuation be in the future? But this company went and burned so much money. They lost so much money, right? Things got so much worse than expected. Like literally they're a $1 stock now, fighting for their life in 2023. That's crazy, but it happened for a food company, right? GoPro's another good example, right? And this was a company that had billions of dollars on their balance sheet. Billions of dollars. Okay? Kind of like a Palantir, right? And next thing you know, like they just had problem after problem after problem after problem with the company. Couldn't get out of their own way. And this stock's been a $5, $6 stock for years now. I mean, years and years and years, right? And they lost a ton of money for a long time. And I know recently they got profitable again. We'll see if that sticks together. But this stock's been $5, $6 for years now at this point in time. Literally years, okay? So the moral of the story is to go all in a stock, regardless if it's Palantir, if it's Tesla, or whatever company, you've got to understand how big of a risk you are taking. I don't care how good the balance sheet is. I don't care how good you think the future growth will be and the returns and those sorts of things. You've got to understand you're taking a massive risk, okay? And there's definitely several stocks that I got hit by very hard in 2022. But I'm still here and I'm still doing, decently well in my portfolios strictly because I was diversified. And there's certain stocks that pulled through and have done tremendous for me despite some of the problems. And so that's where being diversified in this game, having a portfolio of 10, 15, 20 stocks comes in hand. I understand, like, if you think the stock's going to 10x, right? It might not. You might be wrong. As a matter of fact, you probably are wrong. Okay? You probably are wrong. And it's probably not going to do that. And so diversity pays off epically in this game, okay? And you can still bet on a company that it's going to be the big thing, but you don't have to go all in it, okay? And so each person has to make their own decision around that. But I'm just telling you, I've seen it too many times where, folks lose a lot of money because they go all in these stocks. Never mind that, the next stage up is these folks that go all in call options and put options in the short term. And I've seen some even bears get absolutely wrecked recently, like lose their entire portfolios because they were super in on these put option plays and they thought the market was going to tank in January, and it's done anything but tank. And these folks now have these put option positions that are completely worthless, and they're betting their entire portfolios on this, okay? And so I just need to caution everybody around this sort of activity, and you got to understand that you were just taking an epic risk. And a lot of times it doesn't really hit people until it goes wrong. Once it goes wrong, people say, oh gosh, what was I doing all in that position? What was I doing all in that stock? I put my entire portfolio there, okay? And so I just think that needs to be said before we get rolling here. Let's hear what this gentleman has to say, and then go ahead and react to it and kind of give my opinion. Let me know your opinion on Palantir in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you guys as always. And also, if you're looking to join us in the Patreon to see all the stocks I'm buying and selling in the Patreon portfolio, check out the pinned comment down there. And thank you everybody that supports the channel. 25,600 plus subscribers now, I think, on this channel. Wait, no, not 25,000. I think it's 22,600 subscribers on the channel. I might be getting a little ahead of myself. Let's get into this.
Summarize one thing real quick, because I've been saying this in almost every Palantir video I do, and I want you to kind of confirm this for me. You just described an oil and gas industry example that potentially is saving $80 million a day if one service Palantir offers, which is time to value, can be implemented in a meaningful way, and that's not taking into account all the other things that they could potentially offer. That's just oil and gas. We've got healthcare, we've got renewable energy, we've got government. I mean, we've got all this different stuff.
We've got carbon credits, carbon trading, the whole thing about to come. We are talking about and in the renewables, 1 cent can make or break your company. 1 cent per watt or 1 cent per 1 cent can make or break your projects.
So it is the bull case, is the reason, for those that don't know, you are 101% of your US portfolio in Palantir because of the following reason. You believe there are an outsized number of verticals that have yet to have the gold rush that cloud compute has had. You have concluded the gold rush has started in terms of analyzing your data, not just storing your data. You have realized that Palantir has the most advanced software because they developed it for 15 years. They've been through a lot of things to create the system, the integration layer that can actually give clients the results they need with that data. And you believe that if there is not really any other player based on the due diligence that you have done, and maybe you messed up in this due diligence, right? But based on the due diligence you have done, you do not see another player that can do what Palantir is doing in all of these different...
For folks that don't really understand Palantir, right? And I understand it's a very in-depth company. Let me break it down for you as simple as I possibly can, okay? What is the promise of Palantir? The promise of Palantir is me as a government or me as a company. I can sign up for Palantir's products, which are very expensive, right? And I can use Palantir to sift through all my data and help me make better decisions, okay? And so that's why I say Palantir is kind of at the cross sections of data and artificial intelligence. I need to make better decisions for me as a business. And so the promise of Palantir is that maybe I'll spend, let's say, $10 million, let's say a year on your software, and I'm a big company, okay? And the goal is for your product to generate me a lot more than $10 million or save me a lot more than $10 million because you're going to help me make better decisions. You're going to tell me I need to do this, I need to do that. You're going to give me the information that I can take and understand, okay, I need to make this move next. I need to do this next. Oh, this might break next, right? Oh, this is going to be a problem, and see this before it actually happens. And so that's the true promise of Palantir. And that's the long-term, I guess you can say, true meaning of what their product can be. It's that taking all your data as a company and helping make you the best decision for you without you having to necessarily analyze all the data and make those decisions. It can do it for you and figure out this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do, okay? And obviously, as a big company, these decisions could potentially save you or make you hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, right? And so for a company like Palantir, if their software can deliver on that, right? Oh gosh, like whatever you spend as a big company is small money compared to what it can generate you, right? And so that's kind of the beauty with Palantir. It's not just about storing data, because a lot of people can store data. It's about being able to dissect that data, and that data can basically make the best decision for you and say, you need to do this, you need to do that, okay? That's the beauty there, and I think that's the simplest way I could possibly break down Palantir in my personal opinion. Let's get into this.
Which is, if all of it plays out in every single vertical, or at least like a certain percentage of verticals, this can be a stock that actually returns phenomenally well. Is that the reason you're invested in Palantir?
I think that's a very good summary of my conviction and why I am I'm invested in Palantir. Okay, there are a lot of good companies in tech. I don't want to take anything away from anything. Okay, like companies like Snowflake, DigitalOcean, Datadog, they're a phenomenal company. Okay, the question, the way I look at business is that what problem are you solving? Okay, and being a part of, I have a very strong bias because I have been on the industrial sector whole of my company. Like even when I was working for Boston Consulting, most of my clients were private equity, and I do review a lot of companies because both for private investing purpose. When I see the value of cases, when you invest, you have a view about future, that this is what the future will look like, especially if you're in a high growth tech kind of investing. So I have a view, and my view is that all of this we talk about today, that let's build dashboards, let's build this. My view is that this is just a temporary stop. Why you do this? Why a CEO need a dashboard? Because he wants to have an insight of the data. But what if instead of a dashboard, I give a CEO that today you have to take these 5 decisions. Out of these 5 decisions, these are high trade-offs and these are the trade-offs involved. And by the way, I have already taken 200 decisions on your behalf, which were low value. That's the end game. So when we are looking in terms of end game,
we're close to some of those things.
Yeah. So when we are looking in terms of end game, okay, the thing is what is enabling it? Okay. And if you talk me about, and somebody talks me that can it really be done? Guys, you have a case of Ukraine versus Russia. Go back like before the war has started, how many of us have actually anticipated that Ukraine can actually fight with this kind of rigor with Russia? And why today Western countries are actually supporting more and more and supplying more weapons? Because they are saying that Ukraine is actually getting more value out of it, what they are saying. If Ukraine would have wasted the effort, okay, what the Germany or what the US will think, that why we should increase our hostility with Russia anyway, whatever we give to Ukraine will be, it will be useless. Now Ukraine is showing that we can do more than what you can giving to us with the expectation. And
so what Sachin's talking about here is definitely important, very important, right? And he's talking about, obviously, the Ukraine conflict. Obviously, he's talking about how Palantir has helped Ukraine in this situation, right? And I think it's important. But what's more important to companies, and the real promise for Palantir over the next 10 years is not really necessarily selling to governments and helping on the defense side. It's also in a massive way about selling to companies. I think that's the biggest component. The biggest reason I have bought Palantir stock over the last number of months is for the opportunity with companies, okay? And it's very important that we hear stories from companies about how much money Palantir saved them or how much money Palantir made them. Now, something I like recently that Palantir did a few months ago is they actually got some CEOs and CFOs of some of the biggest companies that use Palantir, a few of them, and got them to tell the story about how Palantir has helped them. That's more meaningful to me as a CEO of a company than Palantir, than Ukraine. It's awesome to hear about that and hear how Palantir has helped save lives and all those things. Cool. But at the end of the day, if you're a business leader, you want to hear from other CEOs and CFOs how this software, right, has really helped this company save them or make them way more money than they spend on that. When you hear that, then you can start to understand why you should spend $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, $50 million, whatever on Palantir a year, okay? And so I just think that's important. So what Sachin's talking about is important, but I think the more important thing for companies is when they hear from CEOs and CFOs.
One of the key strategic elements they have is the softwares in the background. Okay, and the piece of the software they are using. So can it be done? So this is like same case, like the CEO who doesn't want to see the dashboard, who wants to see what to do, the actionable intel. Okay, now to contextualize in terms of foundry in commercial setting, I think there is still, in terms of productization and in terms of brand building, a lot of work needs to be done. Because there is a very big problem in a Wall Street community is, and I'm sorry to say about it is, so when you talk to a CEO about that you should do this, the first question a lot of CEOs ask back is, who else is doing this? Are my peers are doing this? And the sad part is, if they know that their peers are doing it, then they would love to do it. But very few CEO will actually do it knowing that nobody else is doing it.
There is a thing going on in the industry where Palantir doesn't have the type of brand recognition that a Snowflake has, that a CEO will come and meet.
Phenomenal point Sachin brings up there. Phenomenal point, okay? About these companies really follow each other around 100%. And that's kind of similar to the point I was just making, just a little different, right? When folks start hearing their competitors are using something and it's helping them save money or make money, that's when all these other companies take it more serious. So that's the beautiful thing about Palantir. As they get bigger, more companies, more industries start using it, and it's going to be more widely accepted, right? I'm sure if you were on AWS, Amazon Web Services, let's say 12 years ago, you might have been the freak example of like, hey, we're on AWS. Everybody's like, what's AWS? How does that work? Okay. Today, it's like, you're not on AWS? Like, oh, that's strange. Like, what? Your website, your app, your stuff's not hosted on AWS? Huh? Why not? Like that would be weird, right? Now at this point in time. And so it's important to understand these kind of steps. And as you get bigger and more widely accepted by companies, it's like the snowball effect that is insane. Might be something that's obviously helping out Snowflake in general, as I brought up that snowball kind of saying there, right? It's the truth, man, 100%.
But the thing I think we're all excited, 185 people here on a Friday night, is like, does the shit work? Like if someone showed you ChatGPT but didn't know how to market it, but you gave it to somebody and they used it, they would be like, if you figure out the marketing, this shit's going to change the world. And I think that's the feeling we all have.
So that's one of the reason. And, I wrote an article in Reddit in 2020, okay, about like my raw experience that first time when I got exposed to Palantir. And till that time, until today, when it comes for this is how when I evaluate a use case or any product, that has changed also a lot. I ask questions very similar to that. Okay. So I haven't seen a product yet which can handle the complex use cases anywhere close to what I have seen Palantir handle. Okay. A lot of use cases are built, but guys, under the hood, the kind of mess they are, okay, versus what they show in PowerPoint is a whole different story.
Yeah, 100%. Palantir will be able to sell itself as it gets built out more and more and more over the coming years and gets in with more companies. And you hear more of these stories from CEOs and CFOs about how much Palantir helped them make money or save money. And that's the best sales presentation that could ever happen, is those CFOs and CEOs be able to talk about Palantir rather than Palantir trying to explain everything they do. If a CFO says, we spend $7 million a year on Palantir and it's helped us save $29 million, it's all you need to hear. And the CFO of this company saying, where do we sign up for that? I want to save that type of money, right? Because we know there's always pressure on CFOs specifically, right? And CEOs as well. But to bring down cost and increase profits. That's like the whole game of being a public company or just a big, large organization in general. And so if you can talk about you got a product or service that helps people save a lot of money or make them a lot of money, dude, it's an easy sell at that point. It doesn't matter how much it is, as long as whatever they get back in return is more than what they spend. If Palantir charged a company $50 million a year, which sounds insane, but it helps that company save $100 million or helps them generate $100 million, and maybe it does both, helps them save an extra $100 million a year, plus it helps them generate an extra $100 million a year, dude, that company's like, where can I sign? Where can I sign? Get me set up with this ASAP. That's the promise of Palantir. And that's what takes Palantir to be that company that a lot of us that are investors wanted to become, a $100 billion plus company, if not multi-$100 billion company by the end of this decade. If it's going to go there, that's the promise it has to deliver on. And then that word has to spread over time. And for Palantir, the biggest thing is actually word of mouth. It's actually bigger than any presentation they could put together or any YouTube video. That stuff's helpful. But the biggest thing is word of mouth. Word of mouth, because all these executives talk to each other, different people in different industries, and if they hear a lot of good stuff from folks that are using Palantir, it starts to become this word of mouth thing that just spreads. Why has Tesla been so successful over the years? It's not just Elon Musk, and like Tesla doesn't even spend it on any TV commercials and stuff like that, while all these other automakers do. The biggest thing for Tesla has always been word of mouth of somebody driving a Tesla, having a great experience, and then showing all their friends and family how awesome Teslas are. And then all their friends and family say, oh, that's really cool. Oh, I like this car. And then for their next purchase decision, they're at least going to consider buying a Tesla. Doesn't mean they will, but they consider it. And that's huge, okay? So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. As always, I appreciate every single person, 22,000, I think 600 plus subscribers. Now at this point in time, I appreciate each and every one of you that are here. Also join us on the Patreon. Thank you everybody that supports on Patreon. That is gonna be the pinned comment down there to see all the stocks I am buying and selling out there. And have a great day.